Oh, a microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The Doctor of Discernment is now online.
You know, much like my show, in that it's a local reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, should be obvious to everyone. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from my basement bunker beneath Kettle Radio. Welcome to the Fourth Hour. It is really great to have you along. Okay, where to start? We got all manner of craziness going on. Let's start out with some of the more serious stuff as we're talking about the ongoing federal government shutdown. House Republicans yesterday, and this is a piece from Town Hall. Matt Vespa saying that he needs to rehash what Representative August Pfluger, chair of the Republican Study Committee, said about the Democratic Party, that it is no longer the party of JFK. Maybe this shutdown was orchestrated by Democrats so they could campaign for Zohran Mamdani, who is running for, as you know, for mayor of New York City. And here's what Pfluger had to say.
Your military communities, from your federal workers? Have you not listened to your local communities telling you to stop the nonsense? No. You know what? They're not there. They're in New York City campaigning for Mamdani.
Yeah.
Maybe they've orchestrated this so that they had the time to go campaign for an outright socialist. Maybe this was orchestrated so they could go do that.
Do you think so?
No, this isn't the party of JFK anymore. This is the party of Schumer and Mamdani, the party that bows to the radical left. I hope that everybody can see the split screen of what's happening in this country. The speaker has so eloquently
I surely can. It drives me nuts.
That Republicans are doing our job to take care of families, that over 13 times the Senate Republicans have voted to fund our military, to fund TSA, to make sure our Border Patrol can get paid and all federal workers can get paid.
Sorry for the low volume on that. There's no way for me. I've got it cranked up, but you know, it's kind of a great point that he's making, that the Democratic Party is no longer the party of JFK. You really just can't say that as you look at what's going on. While we're talking about Mamdani, there's a piece over at American Greatness. Let Commie Mamdani take New York City. Let him have it, basically, is the thrust of this. Talking about the recent debate between Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa. And he writes that Sliwa, the sole Republican, and he goes on to say he doesn't believe that Sliwa's got the chance that Republicans would have had in New York City a number of years ago. For instance, Rudy Giuliani would be a great example. And Curtis Sliwa is trying to run. I listened to him this morning. He was on the Fox News Rundown. And he's the only one who sounds sane. I mean, seriously, he's the only one who sounds even remotely sane as you listen to what's going on in New York City. But the reasoning here at American Greatness is that New York is just too far gone. And so, and this is what I've heard other people saying. Okay, just let New York do what it's going to do. Let it go socialist, and let's see what happens. I'm not one who is inclined to say that. I don't like seeing this. But is there anything that will deter the left from the craziness that we see happening? I don't think there is. So do you allow that to happen and say, okay, we can't let them go ahead and have it? And that, then the rest of the country will see that and they'll know, wow, we don't want to do that. I don't think there's anything that will wake up some of these folks on the left. I just don't. I think it is going to be a fight, and it's going to continue to be a fight for every step of the, at every step of the way. I would like to say otherwise. That's not the world that I want to live in. It really isn't. But I think it's the world we've got. All right, let's take a look at a couple of other stories here. Looking at some of your comments here too. Denise is saying Democrats who have shut down the government are getting paid for not doing their jobs, but the military, campus police, air traffic controllers are working and not getting paid. Shameless. Hard to disagree with that. Steve said the problem with letting the left fail is they won't believe they're the reason their ideas fail. Yeah, I would agree. They will never blame themselves. Because they never blame themselves. When do you ever see the left blaming itself and saying, oh, we shouldn't have done that, we should have done this, this would have been a better solution? When have you ever heard Democrats or the left saying that? They don't. They absolutely don't. I don't know what numbness of the brain has infected them, but it is pretty crazy to watch. Also, there's some other stories here. Judge who is scolding the Department of Homeland Security over how they handled the anti-ICE protests in Chicago. So a judge getting in the way of this. This was yesterday. Agents were suppressing anti-ICE protests on the streets of Chicago, and she put herself in a position then to oversee the operations, according to this story at the Washington Times. Judge Sarah Ellis said she didn't want to take over the Chicago immigration enforcement operation, but she's going to do it anyway, right? But she's going to do it anyway, and that's exactly what she's doing. So this has become a test now of the ability of Homeland Security to be able to deal with unruly crowds. And for instance, get a load of this. She fretted specifically over reports that tear gas was used. Now, I'm gonna slow down as I read this sentence to you, because I think it's important that you understand what's being said. It was used on a crowd over the weekend near where children were preparing for a Halloween celebration. So in other words, you have protests occurring near where children are preparing for Halloween because the left doesn't prepare for, this is their life, is this kind of nonsense. And so the judge said, kids dressed in Halloween costumes walking to a parade do not pose an immediate threat to the safety of a law enforcement officer. That's not why they were there. Is this judge so stupid to not understand that you got people that are protesting near where this is occurring? And this is what the left often does. They will specifically stage a protest because they know something like that is going on nearby. So this is nonsense. The rest of this is just infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. So what it boils down to is you have the chief who personally used tear gas despite the judge's restraining order. So in other words, what we're seeing is the orders of these judges, and this is what I have talked about. The orders of the judges are so insane and make so little sense and are so inherently dangerous that you have people who are responsible people who ignore them anyway. And it's not a good situation. We should not find ourselves, when judges are issuing orders, having to ignore the judges. How many times have I talked about this on the radio show? that I'm inclined to, I've said the president with the restraining orders against him, and you have the judges getting involved. And I've said, I'm inclined to say, ignore them until it's the U.S. Supreme Court, until this has worked its way through the courts. Ignore them. I'm inclined to take that tact. What has the president done? He abides by them. He appeals them. So he has his day in court. He appeals them, but he abides by the law. And this is the opposite of what the left says he does. And it's really crazy. And of course, the left, in terms of their own behavior, they're out there and they, a children's Halloween parade taking place nearby. They don't care. They never care. It's absolutely crazy. Also, the president and a third term. We talked about this. So the president, now this is an updated story this morning. Here's what the president actually said. This video is like a minute and a half long. I'm not going to share all of it, but the president responding to whether or not he would, in one way or another, run for a third term.
You read it, it's pretty clear. I'm not allowed to run. It's too bad.
Yeah, okay, you hear that? You read it. He's talking about the 22nd Amendment. You read it, it's pretty clear I'm not allowed to run. I have told you over the course of the last couple of days that I really believe what the president is doing is he's baiting the media and he's baiting the left. That's what I believe. Now, we'll see what happens. We'll wait and see, what winds up happening. But I think the president is baiting the left because it's so damn easy to do it. It is so easy to bait the left. And Trump is a master at it. So here's what Trump had said the other day.
Has been raised as a loophole.
You'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't want. I wouldn't do it. And I think it's too cute. Yeah, I would rule that out because.
So he's saying he wouldn't do this as to whether or not, the vice president would run for president, J.D. Vance would run for president, and Trump as vice president, and then potentially J.D. Vance would resign, Trump becomes president, and you've got another term. But what you're hearing Trump saying, no, he wouldn't do that very, very clearly.
Yeah, I would rule that out because it's too cute. I think the people would.
It's too cute.
It's too cute. It's not. It wouldn't be right.
Trump has said he believes.
So it wouldn't be right. He's saying, but the way the media just holds on to that story just kind of blows my mind. Now, speaking about the vice president, he was on Pod Force One addressing the prospect of a 2028 presidential run with Marco Rubio. So this is about a minute long, and he starts out saying that, what he's doing right now is he is being the vice president and supporting Donald Trump and his agenda.
My attitude is the American people elected me to be vice president. I'm going to work as hard as I can to make the president successful over the next 3 years and 3 months.
Makes sense.
And if we get to a point where something else is in the offer, let's handle it then. But let's at least get through the next couple of years and do good work for the American people before we talk about politics.
The president doesn't mention who will be running for president and who vice president. Now, everyone assumes it would be you, but Marco Rubio is 13 years older. He's run for president before. Would there be any tension there?
First of all, no, there's not going to be any tension. Marco is my best friend in the administration. He and I work a lot together.
Right.
And we really do, I think, a lot of the good work that we've been able to do as an administration is because we're all able to work together. And again, this is why I say worrying too much about the politics actually, I think, makes you worse at the job that you have.
It's kind of a great point, I think, that J.D. Vance is making. You can find, again, that's on Pod Force One if you want to see the whole thing. I'm going to leave it there. But I really like Miranda Devine. I mentioned her reporting her columns a lot on the radio show. I really like her. And as you can see there, as she's asking the question, she's she's smiling throughout. And this is the thing: Trump keeps everybody guessing. And I've got to say, it's one of the things I love about Donald Trump. And I personally, I kind of have a feeling that, like a magician who distracts you, right? A magician who doesn't want you to see the trick and what he's doing. So he's doing some things to distract you, it's with his right hand so that you don't see what his left hand is doing. And I wonder if that's what's going on here. I really, in addition to Trump just trolling the media. And I love that. I do. Seriously, I just absolutely love it when Trump trolls the media. Okay. I saw this at the New York Post. Don Lemon being torched for saying that Megyn Kelly looks trans. Do you see this? This is it's kind of a crazy story. Lemon was on a podcast. I'm not even sure what the Clip Farmers podcast. And so he and the hosts were talking about Megyn Kelly. God only knows why her name came up. But I think she is incredible. So this comes up. Hold on. I need to get you some audio here. Usually I do this beforehand. Okay, here we go.
Kind of looks like a Barbie doll covered in like WD-40.
I think she looks trans.
Let's end on that note.
She looks, she looks clockable.
Okay, that's Don Lemon saying that Megyn Kelly looks clockable. In other words, saying that she looks trans because she can't really pass for the real thing. I'm like, Megyn Kelly right now, she grown her hair out. I don't think it's a good look. I certainly don't think it makes her look trans. Why would you say that? Don Lemon has been somebody who's been out there and really defending the transgender ideology. And so now he's using trans as an insult. What sense does that make? Shows what an absolute hypocrite, phony, just clown that Don Lemon is. Which is why I love calling him Don Lemon. And you got to give Tucker Carlson credit for that. All right, my friend, you have made it to the end of the video. You are part of my gallery of champions. Special salute to the Bunker Brigade. Those are the folks. You're seeing a lot of their comments. And I love Kathy. Not because Kathy agrees with me, but she says she loves how Trump plays the media. Absolutely. Absolutely. He's a master at it. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope you'll be back tomorrow. If you're not a subscriber on YouTube, please consider becoming one. I would appreciate having you on board. So until tomorrow, my friends, I'm underground and gone.